Imagine the smartest person you know. Maybe it's you. We're talking about that sharp intelligence, that ability to solve complex problems at work, to notice patterns that no one else sees, to have impeccable logic. You'd think that this person, armed with all that brain power, would be an impenetrable fortress against lies, mind games, or emotional manipulation, right? After all, if you can deconstruct a philosophical argument or solve an engineering crisis, you could certainly see through a toxic person. But what if I told you it's exactly the opposite? What if I told you that this same intelligence, this same high-speed processor you carry between your ears, is not your armor, but your Achilles heel? There's a cruel paradox in human psychology that we rarely discuss, something that explains why brilliant CEOs fall for obvious financial scams, or why that brilliant friend of yours keeps going back to a relationship that everyone knows is destructive. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's an excess of dopamine. Let's talk about the dopamine trap. Because if you consider yourself an analytical person, someone who overthinks, who lives inside their own head, you need to understand that your brain isn't just seeking the truth, it's seeking a puzzle. And that's where the danger begins. Think of your brain as an incredibly sophisticated prediction machine. From the moment you wake up, your mind is mapping the world, anticipating what will happen next. When you predict something correctly, like knowing exactly what your coworker will say in a meeting, you feel a quiet satisfaction. It's safe, it's stable, but biologically it's a little boring. The human brain, especially the intelligent and curious brain, is hungry for novelty. It craves the prediction error. When something happens that you didn't expect, your brain floods your system with dopamine. It's that little, whoa, what was that? Shock. It's curiosity. It's focus. Now, apply this to the world of relationships and social interaction. What happens when an intelligent and logical person meets someone stable, honest, and predictable? Someone who says they'll call at 8 p.m. and then calls at 8 p.m.? Someone who says they like you and acts like they like you? The intelligent brain looks at this, understands the pattern within 2 days and says, okay, problem solved, next. There's no mystery. There's nothing to decode. And, tragically, often there's no dopamine surge. We mistake this security for a lack of chemistry. We mistake peace for boredom. But then the manipulator enters the scene. In psychology, we often talk about traits of the dark triad, narcissism, Machiavellianism. But we don't need clinical labels here. Let's just call them the chaos maker. This person isn't logical. One day, they bombard you with love and attention, making you feel like the most special person in the universe. The next day they're cold, distant, or take hours to reply to a message without explanation. Your logical brain panics. The pattern broke. The prediction machine failed. And what happens when the prediction fails? Dopamine. Lots of dopamine. You're not addicted to the person. You're addicted to analyzing the person. You start wondering, why did they act like that? Did I say something wrong? But yesterday was so perfect. Your intellect, that marvelous tool you use to work and create, is now hijacked to solve a problem that has no solution. You start replaying the conversations in your head, looking for clues, analyzing the tone of voice, rereading old messages as if you were an archaeologist deciphering hieroglyphs. You become a detective of your own pain, and the manipulator knows this. Intuitively, they know that if they give you certainty, you lose interest or take control. But if they give you uncertainty, they own your mind. This brings us to the most dangerous concept for intelligent people: intermittent reinforcement. Imagine you have a vending machine. You put in a coin, press the button, and a soda comes out. It's predictable. If one day you put in a coin and nothing comes out, you try again. If nothing comes out again, you give up and leave. You're not stupid. The machine is broken. But now, imagine a slot machine in Las Vegas. You put in a coin, nothing happens. You put in another, nothing. On the third, lights flash, bells ring, and you win double what you bet. What do? You keep playing, and playing, and playing. Even when you're losing, the memory of that random win keeps you stuck there. Manipulative people turn intelligent people into slot machine players. Intelligence here works against you because you have an enormous capacity to rationalize bad moments in the hope of the next good moment. You use your creativity to invent excuses for the other person's behavior. You think, they're going through a tough time at work, or they have childhood trauma. I just need to be patient. Here's what's happening. Your intelligence is working overtime to protect the manipulator's ego, all so you can hold on to the hope of that next dopamine rush, that moment when everything will be okay again. And there's an even deeper layer to this, something that touches on the intellectual vanity we all have a little of. Intelligent people hate being wrong. They hate failing. If you've invested time, emotion, and mental energy trying to fix or understand someone, giving up feels like an admission of defeat. It's the sunk cost fallacy screaming in your ear. Your brain tells you, I'm smart, I can solve anything. If I just find the right combination of words, if I just explain myself better, the other person will understand the logic and change. This is the explanation trap. You think the conflict is a miscommunication. You believe that if you present the facts clearly enough, the other person will have a moment of enlightenment, agree with you, and the behavior will stop. So you write long texts, have late-night conversations, explain your feelings with graphs and metaphors. But what you haven't realized is that the other person isn't playing chess. They're playing dodgeball. They're not interested in logic. They're interested in the emotional reaction they can elicit from you. While you're spending your mental energy trying to build a bridge, they're just feeding off the attention you give to the mess they've created. For the manipulator, your logical explanation isn't an invitation to peace. It's proof that they still have control over your emotional state. Let's delve a little deeper into something almost existential. People with high cognitive abilities, and often neurodivergent people, those with ADHD or high-functioning autism, often feel out of place in the world. There's an inherent loneliness in seeing things that others don't see, in feeling the world with a different intensity. When someone appears and seems to truly see you, to validate your complexity, the feeling is intoxicating. Manipulators are masters of mirroring. At first, they reflect your values, your tastes, your quirks. For an intelligent person who has always felt a bit like an alien, finding someone who speaks their language is not just pleasant, it feels like destiny. This initial connection creates such a strong bond of trust that when red flags start to appear, your intelligent brain ignores them. In fact, it does something worse. It reinterprets them. The other person's possessiveness is reinterpreted as intense passion. Rudeness is seen as brutal honesty. Instability is seen as emotional depth. You begin to use your vast vocabulary and analytical skills to paint a rotting structure in gold. You become the defense attorney for your own executioner. And you know what's most fascinating and terrifying? Boredom. Intelligent people are terrified of boredom. Boredom hurts physically. A life without mental challenges feels like brain death. Drama, however painful, is never boring. Being in a cycle of manipulation keeps your nervous system on high alert. Cortisol and dopamine are dancing a frenetic tango in your blood. You wake up thinking about it. You go to sleep thinking about it. It occupies all your mental space. Ironically, for a mind that needs constant stimulation, a toxic relationship or a manipulative work environment offers an inexhaustible source of material to process. It's as if your brain would rather solve a puzzle that hurts you than have no puzzle to solve at all. That's why the common advice of just leave or just ignore rarely works for highly cognitive people, because leaving means facing the void. It means facing the silence where there was once chaos. And in that silence, you are forced to confront something you may have been avoiding for a long time, your own dependence on external stimuli to feel alive. But here's the turning point. This is where you take that intelligence and use it in your favor, instead of against you. The first step to escaping the dopamine trap is recognizing that the desire to understand the manipulator is, in itself, the addiction. You need to accept a truth that goes against everything your analytical mind believes. Some things don't make sense. Some people don't have a deep why. They act on selfish, momentary impulses. There's no secret code to decipher. The treasure chest is empty. When you realize that the complexity you saw in the other was, in fact, just the complexity of your own mind projected onto them, the game changes. You were playing tennis with a wall and praising the wall for hitting the ball so well. But it was you. It was always you. The depth, the intensity, the emotional intelligence, all of that came from you and ricocheted off them. They were just a dark mirror, reflecting your own light back in a distorted way. Recovery requires you to redefine what is interesting. You need to start seeing stability not as a lack of data, but as a clean and efficient flow of data. Think of it as elegant programming code versus buggy code. Drama is buggy code. It crashes. It consumes memory. It overheats the processor. Peace is elegant code. It runs smoothly. It allows you to use your intelligence for things that truly matter: your career, your art, your growth, your health. Weaning off toxic dopamine is like a physical detox. Your brain will scream. It will try to convince you to send that message, to check that profile, to try just one more explanation. It will say, "But what if I'm wrong? What if it's different now?" That's when you use your cold logic. Look at the data, not at hopes, but at the raw data of past behavior. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. If the data shows consistent disrespect, your intelligence should conclude that the disrespect will continue. Start finding challenges in healthy places. If your brain needs puzzles, give it something difficult to learn. Learn a new language. Take up a complex sport. Delve into a dense subject of study. Redirect that dopamine hunger towards something that builds you up instead of something that consumes you. Replace the cheap thrill of uncertainty with the deep satisfaction of competence. Remember, being intelligent doesn't mean you can't be fooled. It just means you're better at fooling yourself. But once you see the gears, once you understand the mechanism of the trap, you can't unsee it. And that's the beauty of your mind. It learns, it adapts. So the next time you feel pulled into chaos, into that confusing situation that makes your heart race and your mind run a mile a minute, stop, breathe. Ask yourself, is this passion or is it just panic disguised as excitement? Am I enjoying the person or am I enjoying the puzzle? Your intelligence is a gift. It's a powerful tool capable of creating worlds and solving the impossible. Don't waste it trying to decipher someone who doesn't want to be read or fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. The greatest mystery, and the one most worthy of being solved, is how to build a life that doesn't need chaos to be fascinating. A life where peace isn't the end of the story, but the beginning of your true freedom. You are smarter than the trap. Now you just need to be wiser than your impulses.